Great to have you along today.
Okay.
So on Friday, you saw the markets really reel due to this new and potentially more transmissive coronavirus, first identified by South Africa's scientists. Which
Omni something, isn't it now?
I think it's called Omicron.
Oh, it sounds so
Omicron, I believe.
so
Not
deadly.
Yeah, Omicron, Omicron. So here to talk about that, our good friend James Sapirstein, who also happens to be the president, chairman, and CEO of what formerly was Azure Biopharmaceuticals, but now First Wave Biopharma, stock symbol FWBI. And the reason I bring that up is I don't want people to be confused that it is the same company with a different name, but James is still our go-to guy in this.
Yeah.
James, you're at the tip of the spear on all of this. You're one of the first guys that get this information because you guys are working on COVID therapeutics, so as we're not dependent solely on vaccines. First of all, welcome to the program. But I'm going to let you go. What do you hear about this? How serious is it? Is this? I mean, half the media is saying that it's nothing to worry about yet, and we just don't know. The other half of the media is looking to do
Stay home.
Yeah, so talk about it.
Thanks for having me again. The best response is we don't know, and the reason we don't know is because we need the vaccines tested against this particular variant. Some people are again misinformed. That they're saying, well, it's not really infecting people. It's a milder strain. Well, the data that's come from South Africa is really in younger patients between the ages of 18 and 35 who didn't really get too sick. Therefore, they think it's a milder strain. However, we don't know whether older patients or immune-compromised patients who contract the disease or contact the disease will get really, really sick. We do know that it has more mutations than the Delta variant did in the spike protein. Remember I showed you that little spike protein that comes off the virus.
So here's my question. The flu, all right, which killed many, many people in this country at the turn of the century, last century, I should say, turns into where multiple variants, multiple mutations, every year we're trying to chase down a new vaccine to chase this down.
Yeah.
Little by little, it's, very few people, I shouldn't say very few, but in terms of comparison to COVID, very few people die from the flu every year unless there's pre-existing conditions or the elderly. Do we just have a new flu? I'm not trying to minimize it, but is that where this is going? To where you're going to have a COVID vaccine every year once this thing sort of plays out, much like the flu did at the beginning of the last century? Or is there some real differences here?
Well, I think you're right. It is going to play out like the flu. It's going to be a very severe form of the flu, though. And it's something we're going to have to deal with, even a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, talking to some friends of mine that work for the CDC. It looks like we're going to have to go to a twice-a-year vaccine or twice-a-year injection. That's coming. So you're hearing this first from me. The boost, we've gotten the booster, so the third shot, but I think you'll see a fourth. So where you have a flu vaccine once a year, you're probably going to see a COVID vaccine twice a year.
And by the way, won't it be a couple? To your point, you just don't know yet. I keep hearing it's going to be a few weeks until more answers are clear. I mean, doesn't it take weeks to know exactly if our existing vaccine is going to be able to deal with this?
At
We
least.
don't have enough data yet, right?
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. That's why we don't know. It'll take a couple of weeks at least for these vaccines the current vaccines to be tested against these mutations to see if they're still effective against these mutations. But in the meantime, the virus is here. The virus got here over the weekend. So it's here and it's going to spread like wildfire, just like Delta did. It's very transmissible, just like Delta was.
Is this different than the Lambda and the Gamma that you talked about I don't know, 6, 7 weeks ago?
It is. It is in the fact that what we expected Lambda and Gamma and Mu, actually, MU, we thought they were going to be much more virulent than Delta, but the Delta was so strong that it superseded what we saw happen with Mu and Gamma. So we believe this is a more virulent strain. It's going to spread just like Delta, but what we don't know is if it's as deadly as Delta.
Exactly.
Hopefully it's not.
His name is James Sapirstein, Chairman, President, CEO of First Wave Biopharma. Their stock symbol FWBI. You can go to firstwavebio.com. First Wave, WAV, by the way. I'll put that up on our website so you can see.
You know what I heard? You know what 007 is, don't you?
Yeah, the James Bond.
No, it's the percentage of children who get COVID.
Yeah, so there's a story. So when you're coming from when you're taking the news and saying, well, the kids didn't get as sick, they don't get as sick anyway. Isn't that part of the MARD data here?
Well, that's true because the kids have great immune systems. I mean, they're able to fight lots of different viruses that we can't as older people.
Hey,
Ever seen a kid
James, let's talk about first wave because you guys are working on COVID therapeutics. How does this change your research, or do you just stay the course and hope that we have a one-size-fit-all or a catch-all, right?
It really doesn't because we don't work on these little strands that I pointed out. We work on the body of the virus. So it doesn't matter to us what the mutation is going to be. We're going to work regardless against the virus.
I asked you this the very first time we had you on the air a few months ago, and I asked you how this pandemic compares to all the other epidemics, HIV, SARS, Ebola. Does your answer change now?
No. I think this virus has, what's changed. Well, let's take that back. What's changed that we've gotten vaccines very, very quickly. Look, an Ebola vaccine works as well, but I think we're going to get this under control. I think by mid next year, it's no longer going to be a pandemic. It's going to be endemic. So we're going to have this well under control.
But James, don't you think when we get news like we got last Friday or Thursday, whenever it was, that it really highlights what first wave is doing in working on therapeutics versus vaccines? Because look, it's at some point we have to respond versus react, and it seems like we're reacting right now. Look at Moderna, Pfizer right now already to work on a vaccine. That's great. That's 3 months down the road. It's going to have criticism if it gets proved too quickly, and so on and so forth. Doesn't this really highlight the need for COVID therapeutics like you guys are working on?
I think you're right on the money. Think about Pfizer and Merck. They introduced tablets or pills for treatment for very, very sick patients. Their market cap went up about $3 to $4 billion when they made that announcement. We're looking at mild to moderate patients. We're looking to have like a Tamiflu, something that you could use when the patient gets sick. Yeah. So once we show efficacy, I think it's going to be off the charts.
Fantastic. James, thank you so much for your time. Once again, James Sapirstein, he is the chairman, president, CEO of First Wave Bio. By the way, he'll be in studio here in a couple of weeks after Christmas.
I hope he washes his hands thoroughly.
He'll be the safest guest we ever had.